Have you ever found yourself indulging in certain habits that seem to undermine your progress and happiness? You're not alone. This is a universal human experience, and it's rooted in our psychological behavior. Understanding these behaviors is crucial for our emotional well-being. We often engage in self-sabotaging psychological habits without even realizing it. These can include being excessively self-critical, ruminating on past mistakes, pushing people away when we're lonely, or not apologizing when we've done wrong. These habits can create a cycle that leads to low self-esteem, depression, and anxiety. Imagine a garden where the soil is our mind. These habits are like weeds, growing and spreading, taking over the beautiful flowers of our potential and happiness. By recognizing and understanding these habits, we can begin the process of weeding them out, making room for healthier mental patterns to flourish. So, it's time to take a closer look at these habits, not with self-judgment, but with an attitude of learning and growth. Now, let's delve into the specifics of these habits and how they affect our daily lives. Firstly, consider the times you've been overly critical of yourself, especially when your self-esteem is already low. It's a trap many of us fall into, that relentless voice in our heads that amplifies every perceived flaw and mistake. This habit of self-criticism can lead to a harmful cycle of self-deprecation and decreased self-esteem. For instance, you might find yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up. But here's the thing. These thoughts aren't just destructive, they're inaccurate. They don't reflect who you truly are. They're merely a distorted mirror, a trick of the mind. It's important to recognize this and challenge these self-critical thoughts. Instead of berating yourself for every slip-up, try to view these moments with compassion and acceptance. Think of it as talking to a friend. You wouldn't harshly criticize them for a mistake, would you? Extend that same kindness to yourself. Replace the self-critical voice with a more understanding one. Remember, we are all human, and it's okay to make mistakes. They are opportunities for growth. Secondly, consider how you react to failure. Do you tend to psych yourself out after a setback? Fear of failure is a common psychological habit that can stifle growth and progress. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're so afraid of failing that you don't even try, and in doing so, you miss out on opportunities and experiences that could lead to success. But here's the thing about failure. It's not a personal defeat. It's a learning experience. It's a chance to evaluate what didn't work, adapt, and try again with a new approach. When we view failure through this lens, it becomes less about falling short and more about gaining valuable insights. So, next time you're faced with a challenge, don't let the fear of failure hold you back. Embrace it, because every stumble, every misstep is just another stepping stone on the path to success. Remember, it's not about how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth, but an inevitable part of the journey to success. Thirdly, do you find yourself pushing people away when you feel lonely? This is what we call the loneliness paradox. It's a strange phenomenon, isn't it? When we feel lonely, it's natural to seek solitude, to push others away. But the irony is this very act of distancing ourselves deepens our feelings of isolation. Loneliness, when left unchecked, can morph into a vicious cycle. You feel alone, so you isolate, which in turn makes you feel even more alone. It's a hard pattern to break, but not impossible. The key? Reach out. Yes, it's counterintuitive when you're feeling low, but remember this. It's okay to lean on others. It's okay to seek comfort, to seek connection. We humans are social creatures. We're wired for connection, for belonging. So the next time loneliness strikes, instead of pushing people away, why not try reaching out? Send a text, make a call, join a club, volunteer. And remember, developing healthy coping mechanisms for loneliness can make a world of difference. Remember, it's okay to seek comfort and connection from others. We are social beings, after all. Fourthly, do you often find yourself brooding over past events or future uncertainties? This, my friends, is the habit of rumination, a psychological quicksand that can pull us into a cycle of constant overthinking. While it may seem harmless, this habit can be a silent destroyer of mental peace. You see, when we excessively ruminate, we're essentially replaying a never-ending loop of worries and doubts in our minds. This can lead to increased levels of anxiety and can even trigger depressive episodes. It's like being trapped in a storm of negative thoughts, where the past and the future overshadow the beauty of the present. But worry not, as there are strategies to manage this habit. One such strategy is mindfulness, the art of being fully present and engaged in the here and now. By practicing mindfulness, we can learn to acknowledge our thoughts without letting them control us. Another useful approach is cognitive reframing, which involves shifting our perspective to view situations in a more positive or neutral light. It's about finding that silver lining, even in the darkest of clouds. While reflection is important, it's also crucial to live in the present and look forward to the future. So let's break free from this cycle of rumination and embrace the power of now. Lastly, do you distance yourself when you feel guilty instead of repairing the relationship? This is a common yet harmful psychological habit that we may all be guilty of. It's the so-called guilt gap. Instead of acknowledging our mistakes and seeking reconciliation, we often choose to distance ourselves from those we've wronged. This avoidance, this refusal to apologize, can severely damage our relationships and hinder our personal growth. Think about it. Imagine a world where everyone held their hands up when they messed up, where apologies were sincere and commonplace. It would be a world brimming with emotional connection, understanding, and growth. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? So the next time you feel that pang of guilt, instead of pulling away, lean in, apologize sincerely, and make amends if possible. It may be tough. It may be uncomfortable, but it's an essential step towards personal growth and better emotional well-being. Remember, apologizing doesn't signify weakness but strength and maturity. In conclusion, recognizing and overcoming these self-sabotaging habits is essential for our emotional well-being and personal growth. We've journeyed through the labyrinth of self-criticism, explored the paradox of loneliness, and confronted the fear of failure. We've also delved into the dangers of excessive rumination and the guilt gap, which can distance us from repairing relationships. All these psychological habits, if left unchecked, can hinder our personal growth, shackle our self-esteem, and lead us into the quagmire of anxiety and depression. But fear not, for every problem has a solution. It's crucial to remember that it's perfectly okay to seek professional help when things get too heavy to handle alone. The journey toward self-improvement isn't a solitary one, and there's always help available. Moreover, engage in ongoing self-reflection to become more aware of your thought patterns and emotional responses. By doing so, you can identify these habits and work towards breaking free from these detrimental patterns. This journey may seem daunting, but remember, every step you take is a step towards a happier and healthier you. Remember, change begins with awareness, and with awareness we can take strides toward a healthier and happier life.